like a big Italian family, a big Spanish family.
Yeah.
And her grandmother was kind of the glue that held that all together.
Richard Gere was known as Hollywood's silver-haired heartbreaker, the man who turned Pretty Woman into a modern fairy tale and redefined on-screen romance. For decades, he carried himself with elegance, calm confidence, and a kind of restraint that made every frame unforgettable. But at 76, that polished image suddenly shifted. Gere admitted a truth he had hidden for most of his life: the 5 actresses he quietly loved in secret. They were American angels, women so breathtaking, so untouchable, that no one dared get close, except him. And when you hear their names, you'll struggle to believe it. Julia Roberts comes first on that list. Not because she was the most famous, but because she was the only woman who ever made Gere lose control. The chemistry in Pretty Woman didn't come from the director, the script, or any acting technique. It came from her. Julia had this effortless way of slipping past every emotional barrier, and Gere later confessed that just being near her felt dangerous, a feeling acting was never supposed to give him. A revelation that leaves one question echoing: if Julia could shake him so deeply, who are the other 4? The moment Gere could never forget didn't happen under bright studio lights. It happened in a quiet corner, long before anyone called action. They were sitting at a small restaurant table, simply rehearsing a scene, running through a few lines. Then suddenly, Julia slipped her hand under the table and traced a line across Gere's palm with the tip of her finger. Slow, intentional, soft to the point of feeling unreal. It was her way of building emotion, a personal technique to stir tension before the camera rolled, but to Gere, that touch felt like a shock of electricity running through him. Later, he admitted, she did this tiny thing with her fingers, and suddenly it wasn't a scene anymore. It was us. That single moment made him realize that just one small gesture from Julia was enough to pull him out of character and into a feeling that was dangerously real. What confused him even more was her effortless naturalness. Julia would giggle softly, lean a little closer than necessary, brush against his arm without thinking, and hold his gaze long enough to make him forget every line he had practiced. The crew noticed it too. Some whispered about the strange pull between them. One cameraman even confessed he stopped filming once, because he felt like he was intruding on something deeply private. Richard admired the mix of innocence and boldness in her, the way she used genuine emotion instead of acting technique. She wasn't cold and razor-sharp like Sharon Stone, nor quietly destructive like Diane Lane. Julia was something entirely different: warm, dangerous, and capable of breaking through anyone's defenses. She was warm, open, and disarmingly genuine. And that, Richard said, made her the most dangerous woman he had ever worked with. Even now, he admits that if Julia had ever asked him to vanish for a weekend, he wouldn't have hesitated. He would have gone without a second thought. Sharon Stone, on the other hand, was danger turned into desire, and Richard Gere still remembers the exact moment she entered his world. His whole body reacted before his mind knew what was happening. No introductions, no polite Hollywood chatter. Sharon simply crossed a crowded room toward him, lifted her hand, and with one slow, deliberate motion, brushed an imaginary piece of lint from his shoulder. Then she smiled, not politely, but possessively, as if choosing him from everyone else in the room. In that instant, he knew he was in real trouble. Gere would later say, Sharon didn't flirt like normal people. She hunted. And he meant it as pure admiration. But what truly deepened his fascination wasn't just the heat crackling between them, it was the way she worked. On set, she could shift from playful to laser-focused in a heartbeat. One moment she was laughing with the crew, the next she was delivering a performance so sharp it felt like stepping into a duel. Richard often explained that she could improvise a single line that sliced straight into the heart of the scene. I had to stay awake around her. Blink once and she'd steal the entire moment. He respected that immensely. Sharon never waited to be told what to do. She created the direction herself. She wasn't afraid to challenge a director, stand closer to Gere than the script intended, or change the rhythm of a scene if she believed the truth was buried deeper. Sharon Stone didn't just act. She invaded a scene, reshaped it, and left everyone, including Richard, struggling to catch their breath. And Gere loved that fearlessness. There was one rehearsal, quiet, ordinary, when Sharon suddenly grabbed his wrist mid-sentence and whispered, "Don't act, react." It wasn't in the script. It wasn't part of the scene. But it hit him like a shock. Gere later admitted that single whisper taught him more about presence than any acting coach ever had. Sharon was a jolt to his system, both professionally and personally, and that combination made her impossible to forget. Then came Michelle Pfeiffer, the woman who disarmed him without a single touch. Gere never anticipated the effect she would have on him. Her power was unsettling because it didn't rely on physical contact. The desire she evoked sprang entirely from mystery. The moment he became captivated happened in a casting meeting in the late 80s. Michelle entered, sat across from him, folded her hands, and simply stared, razor-sharp, unwavering focus that made him forget why he was even in the room. 10 full seconds passed. 10 seconds in which Richard Gere was entirely consumed, caught in a silent gravity he couldn't escape. No smile, no small talk, just eyes that seemed to strip away every thought he tried to hide. Gere later admitted, "Michelle didn't have to say a word. I felt like she had already figured me out." No other actress had ever done that to him. Her method of working was even more dangerous than any touch or flirtation. Michelle was precise. Frighteningly precise. She didn't rehearse to memorize lines. She rehearsed to refine herself, slicing away anything false until only truth remained. When she stepped into a scene, she moved with calm, elegant precision, cutting straight through the moment like a scalpel. During a test scene, Gere attempted an improvised emotional beat. Michelle didn't respond with a rehearsed reaction. She inhaled sharply, let a real tremble enter her voice, and whispered, "Don't lie to me. Not here." It wasn't scripted, and it struck Richard harder than any intimate gesture ever had. He loved that discipline. The way her restraint made every subtle motion matter. The way her stillness drew him in rather than pushed. Gere once confessed privately, "With Michelle, you don't chase her body, you chase her depth." That is why she was impossible to forget. Then came Diane Lane, the quiet flame. The one he nearly crossed the line for. Because what happens when two actors like Richard Gere and Diane Lane step into a scene so intimate that even the director begins to wonder, is this still acting? That question followed them for years, and Gere has never denied why. Diane didn't spark explosive desire the way Sharon Stone did. She didn't push, she didn't provoke. Instead, she pulled Richard into her orbit with a softness that felt more dangerous than heat. Diane had a way of listening that made every word he spoke fall deeper than he intended. Gere confessed she could shift the emotional temperature of an entire scene with a single breath. The moment that changed everything happened during Unfaithful. In rehearsal, Diane was supposed to deliver a simple line of guilt. But she didn't. She slowed down, stepped half a pace closer, rested her forehead lightly against his, and whispered, "Don't answer yet. Let it hurt first." Richard froze. That was the instant he realized just how dangerously real she could make a moment feel. No actress had ever wielded silence like Diane Lane. That was her signature. She worked from wounds, not technique. Gere later admitted, "Diane makes you act with your truth, not your talent." For a seasoned actor like him, it was intoxicating and frightening at once. She would hold a gaze just a second too long, match her breathing to his, subtly adjust her voice to mirror his emotional state. Each tiny, surgical choice made him feel seen in a way he never expected on a movie set. There was one take where Diane's voice cracked, a real crack, unscripted. Instead of breaking the moment, Gere reached for her hand. Diane let that vulnerability linger. For a few seconds, they weren't performing. They simply existed together. That was the kind of raw, electric connection Richard Gere would spend a lifetime chasing, and it cemented Diane Lane in a place in his mind even he struggled to explain. Then there was Sophia Loren, the untouchable dream he never outgrew. Gere didn't put Sophia on the list because of chemistry, danger, or stolen moments like the others. He put her there because she was the only woman who stirred in him a feeling he hadn't experienced since boyhood, pure awe. The moment that cemented his fascination happened long before Sophia Loren and Richard Gere ever shared a scene or even a professional word. It was at a European awards ceremony in the late 80s. Sophia approached him with that effortless Italian elegance, placed her palm lightly on his cheek, soft, almost maternal, devastatingly intimate, and whispered, "You look too serious for a man with eyes like that." Richard couldn't speak. Years later he laughed about it, but in that instant, he was frozen, a 40-something movie star suddenly reduced to a nervous teenager under the gaze of a legend. But what made his admiration for Sophia unshakable wasn't that touch. It was the way she commanded presence. She never forced a scene, never overplayed a moment. Instead, she drew stillness from everyone around her, demanding that all, including Gere, meet her level of truth. During a masterclass they attended together, Sophia told the young actors, "If you don't live with your heart open, the camera will know." Richard never forgot that line. He often credited it with changing how he approached vulnerability on screen. Her presence was gravity itself, making him want to rise higher, hold himself straighter, bring more honesty to his work. Gere admitted privately, "I never desired Sophia the way I desired others. I desired to be worthy of her." That longing, more than chemistry or heat, is why she remains the untouchable dream he never escaped. Now that Richard Gere has finally revealed the 5 actresses he loved most, which name surprised you the most? And do you think any of these feelings were ever truly mutual? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next deep dive into Hollywood's biggest secrets.